What's more important to you from your formation, loyalty or respect?
So of course the Army values, we got it right, leadership, and I'll go, hey, and you got no loyalty, right? I used to tell them that. But the biggest thing is I'm really telling you, for me, is the respect. Because I want you to respect the organization. Because I tell people you can work for one type of person and you're great. And you see that all the time. Oh, I did all this and I never got in trouble.
The one, the only, the myth, the legend, Master Sergeant Miguel Valentin, quartermaster's in the house.
So, man,
Man, so how long have you been in the military?
22 going on 23.
23.
Years, not days, not months, years.
How long you plan on staying in?
Man, I'm at the end, brother. I got, probably make it 24.
24?
24 on the dot. Make an even number. Favorite number, 24.
Okay. In your own words, what does leadership mean to you?
In my words, leadership is just being that individual that, you know, is willing and able to get the best out of people,
Okay.
whether they want it or not. Hey, get the best out of people.
Throughout your time, your 23 years in service, what's the most challenging leadership position that you've held?
Hands down, first sergeant.
Tell me
Being a
about it.
first, being a first sergeant is one of the rarest positions for me, in my opinion, that you are responsible for everything and anything, but you're not in charge.
Mm.
You're responsible, you're not in charge. You have that company commander. That's why they have their chain of command. Change of command. They ain't command. And you have change of responsibility. You're responsible. Right? But I have other individuals who have to do it. You got your motor sergeant, you got supply sergeant, you got your platoon leaders, you got your platoon sergeants, you got your squad leaders. They're the ones really executing all that stuff. But I'm more responsible. So from the boots to the family affairs, I'm responsible. Soldier not eating, I'm responsible. Am I a direct line to that soldier? No, but I'm responsible. So how do I get involved with that? And it takes a lot because you have to care when inherently you may not want to. In your normal day life, you wouldn't care. You will have to empathize. You will have to put yourself in these positions that you yourself would never even get yourself in that position, but now you have to deal with it. So it takes tolls because you have to challenge your internal biases, your internal opinions, the way you were raised. All that stuff comes into play. So you can look at an individual and might be distraught, and you have to figure out, okay, and that's part of leadership. I need to get this person back on the team. I need to get them in a place where they can be good. And I think first sergeant was one of those positions where you're gonna do things where people don't like you. You're gonna do things where people are just gonna criticize you, but it's for the good of the organization and it's good for the individual sometimes. But they will not see that at the time. But you hope later down the line that they will realize and say, hey, it was in my best interest what first sergeant did. It was in my best interest. First sergeant's doing this for the greater good. He's not personally attacking me. He's not doing it to, being fair. Like we talk about being fair,
Fair and impartial.
fair and impartial, right? It's in our creed, right? But what is fair? Like I have spoken to people, we all go on the same road, and if you fail to come to formation, you all get counseled. I don't care you're the best superstar or you're the soldier that always getting in trouble. That first time everybody gets treated. Now from there, now you are informed.
Mm-hmm.
Two people mess up, uninformed and those that don't care. Once you get counseled, you are informed. And we're going to figure out if there's any issues to take care of you. But once you start being a habitual offender, that's still fair because everybody started off on the same spot. After that, then it starts branching off. So I think that as a first sergeant, the long nights, the impact on the family, because you got family. Usually you're older NCO, you got a wife, you got kids, you got responsibilities. So now you're balancing two families that want they pulling for your time, and it's hard and it causes heartache in the family. But that's where the communication comes in, and you have to be able to balance it. And as being as a first sergeant, and they call you the daddy of the company. I know where, you're the mama papa, you said that way, of the organization. So you have to be there, whether you want to or not.
So speaking of mommy, daddy, growing up, so you coming up through the military, you're running into a lot of different first sergeants, right? And you probably get a feel for how their leadership is. What did you want to do? What did your vision of being a first sergeant look like? How did you want to run your company?
So I would tell you, being coming up in the Army as a supply sergeant, I think that MOS itself has a different advantage of other MOSs don't. Because we work all the time with commanders and first sergeant teams all the time. We're one of those that we're right there. So I was fortunate to work with a lot of good first sergeants. I mean, I can name them. I don't, think, but I mean, like these guys, the ones that were calm, but they had it in them. The respect. Like I knew if I go into First Sergeant Sykes' office, he's gonna listen to me. And if it is something that it's not a big thing that I'm overthinking it, he'll tell me, what does that mean? To make me focus. And other people's like, oh, he don't care. And as a soldier, you don't realize it too. Later on, you're like, oh, I get it, what he's telling me. Or First Sergeant Wiley, the key thing, okay, focus, right? So me as a first sergeant, I wanted to be approachable, one, transparent. I didn't want to be, I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah, I could be a little arrogant, egotistic with my company, our company, that we're good, right? And I have to reflect, but I also know, hey, no one's perfect. We're human. So like I said, every mistake, depending on what was the mistake, we're gonna have a conversation. And I'm not gonna go crazy on you. I'm not. Even you get a DUI, okay, come see me. Let's talk. Okay, what's going on? They're expecting to go in there and get their head cut off. No, we're adults. Let's come talk. As long as you maintain your composure and we have a conversation, that's good. And every little, hey, let your emotions out. I wanted to be that first sergeant and be the one that, and with the guidance, you represent the company. I represent you guys represent me. Let's do the right thing. But at the same time, I knew I had to instill discipline, instill the will to get after the mission. So that was like kind of thing, like how do you balance that? Because see, people say people first. I said, yeah, but there's also a mission there. So you can't just have all your creature comforts and do whatever you want and not get after the mission. So how do we balance that? And as the first one, you're the honest broker. Okay, no, that don't make no sense. Why? We don't need the soldier for this mission. That's not a mission failure. Let the soldier take care of what they have to take care of. And or no, this is what has to get done. This is what we can do. Understood has this concern, and that's not a concern that's overwhelming. It's a concern we could fix at a later time or at the end of this mission. So it was a lot of those balancing things where people is me, and I want them to say, what about us? So for me as a first sergeant, it's us. If I gotta go and look at the CQ desk and sit down so they could take care of something, us, we, the unit, right? And to respect each other. So I understand respectful. So me as a first sergeant, I didn't care to be liked. Just respected as a person that hey, first sergeant you may not like what first sergeant is doing right now, but trust in the process of what he's doing.
So I
got the process.
I got one for you, right? You talked about respect. As a first sergeant, you were running the organization. What's more important to you from your formation, loyalty or respect? So,
of course, the Army values, we got it, right? Leadership, and I'll go, hey, and you got no loyalty, right? I used to tell them that. But the biggest thing is I'm really telling you, for me, is the respect. Because I want you to respect the organization. Because I tell people, you can work for one type of person and you're great. And you see that all the time. Oh, I did all this and I never got in trouble. Because you were loyal kind to that person. You respected that person. That person leaves. You're still in the same organization. No, something you changed. So do you respect yourself? Do you respect the organization as a whole? Because I need you to respect the organization to say, okay, you know what? Soldier X is doing this. First, you go to that soldier, right? Because they respect each other. Hey, man, you're going to get in trouble. You're doing X and Y. Stop it. Or I have to report you. Whatever, right? Then, if I leave as the first sergeant, they have enough respect for the organization to say, you know what? I need to continue to do these things. Because at the end of the day, when you're gone, the loyalty, the only thing that remains there is the guidon. And we all could say, hey, I was in that unit, it was a good unit at the time, but was it the unit or was it the people in the unit at the time you were there? So you respect the organization, because if there's something going on and you could be loyal, but to who? To that person and do something wrong? Now you got issues, because now you may let something slide, you may not do the right thing. So respect it. If first someone's doing something wrong, have enough respect for the organization, for me, for yourself, to say, first time, can I talk to you? And that's what I mean, being transparent, being approachable, so they can come talk to you, right? That's why first round is hard, because you can't just talk just to talk. You can't. You put something out in that formation, you're putting yourself out there. So it's less spoken, right?
How important is open communication, like open dialogue between the first sergeant office and the rest of the formation? Like, how do you get that
There's a
going?
time and a place, right? I was one person, like you said, first. I hate it when I'm there, commander puts out their words, and then the first sergeant comes in and this. I'm like, man, the commander. So for me as a first sergeant, I didn't speak after my commander spoke. Once he put out his guidance, it was there. If I needed it to voice it to the entirety of the organization, I was gonna first talk to the platoon sergeants and say, hey, let's talk. Because guess what? Remember, I don't directly supervise. Okay, this is what's going on. Let's make up a plan together. All right, formations at this time, 10 minutes prior to the commander going out there. And then we're gonna have a conversation. Hey, this is what's going on, and this is how we're gonna rectify. I know some of you ain't, I know 80% ain't gonna like it, but I need to get after that 20%. Because if you don't get after the cancer now, it spreads. So just like doctors, this is my chemotherapy for you, and we're gonna get after it. And it's not perfect, because when you expect perfection, you're gonna accept failure, because you're gonna fail. No one's perfect, right? But you gotta minimize those imperfections. Minimize it, right? It's like a discount store, right? You go in there, you're like, man, this is 500. That's a great table, but this one got a couple of nicks on the thing. I'm gonna go right here. I could fix that. So that's how I kind of thought. Like, okay, some of these soldiers who had certain things, I could fix that. But that's how I would communicate. I think as leaders, we get into analogies to break it down to those individuals, because they may not understand. If I tell them, oh, this is the metal, and all those doctrinal terms, you lose them. The lights go off, shades. But I say, hey, look, this is why we have to do it. This is happening over here. This is what we do. We need to be good at it. So we go over there and everybody come back home. We got that. Okay, how we do that? Got to be fit, got to shoot, got to communicate, right? We got to be good as hell at our job. Whether it's pumping fuel or shooting rounds down, we got to be good. Got it? Okay. So that's how I used to communicate. Keep it simple. I can't be someone that has a doctoral degree. I'm not that person. Mm-hmm. I'm the person that I probably would play a good foreman on a construction site and figure out the stuff. Okay, hey man, that's not level, blah, 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 blah. I just happen to be in the Army and in charge of these people, of not only their well-being, but that stuff. But how can you do that if you don't communicate? If you don't talk to people, how can you lead them? I could put up the records, I can do all that. But how do I don't know them. How you doing? How you doing is a good phrase. Good morning. Okay, how you doing? And you get to know your people. And then you can get that buy-in and tie in.
So how important is the buy-in? Because in my opinion, I would think as the leader of the organization, you selling the organization. So you got to get this buy-in. How are you getting these people to buy into a product that you're trying to put out?
So that's funny. And when we had talked about everything in your career or in your life gives you skill sets that you may not realize you need in life. So for your next, whatever you're going through now, it's going to help you in the next phase. I recruited in New York City. Difficult assignment, but it gave me a skill set that now I talk to people and I'm getting the information, because people have motives. What motivates them, internal motivate, their biases, all that. Things that motivate them internally. So they like motorcycles. I'm not a motorcycle person. But guess what? I'm going to go do my research enough So I can have a conversation that has nothing to do with the Army for a later time. Hey, what's this motorcycle? Yada, 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 yada. Really? Oh, man, I don't know nothing. And you see them bright up. I got it. Okay. That's what he talks about. That's what they like. Oh, man, I like music. Oh, really? Show me. Where? You got a YouTube? Oh, let me like it. Da, 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 da. Really? Oh, what music you like? Oh, I like Migos, whatever, right? I'd be like, oh, for real? The guys? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, bro, I'm old. But I try to make it relatable. I'm like, I'm Wu-Tang. And they be like, oh, first song, Wu-Tang. And then, so you try to make it where you got to get their motivation because it ain't about you. Leadership ain't about you. It ain't, because you're not leadership. You leading, so yes, you have to lead yourself, but you massive people, you cannot all lead in the same. We're trying to roll the same direction. So this person likes cartoons, anime, bicycle. This kid likes building stuff, and then you start finding and asking questions about that. It can't always be army, 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 army. So as a recruiter, that helped me, and then I can ask the fact finding questions. Okay, blah blah blah, and then I lead into other things. Okay, hey man, and you observe their room. So you have to get to know people, because you can lead them just by virtue of your rank. You will be here, this and that.
Definitely.
But you want to make them want to do it, not have to do it. I want to do this. I want to be the best at it. I want to get after it. Or, man, we got to do this and blah, 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 blah. Inherently, some things suck. Got it. Let's just be the best at it. So now we know how to do this less. We got to clean the motor pool. Okay, well, throughout the day, we cleaning and sweeping and doing what we got to do. On Friday, it's easy money. I don't got to go kill myself getting rakes and things because everybody dirty. And then you take ownership and you respect your area. So when somebody try to dirty, you're like, hey, what are you doing? So that's how I think it's like getting those internal drives to be wanting to do things, not having to do things, and that's what I think.
So, as far as being a first sergeant or someone getting ready to step into that role, what advice would you give someone that's going to walk into that role and say, hey, this is one thing you need to be successful as a first sergeant? What would that be?
Okay, so I could get technical. I could get I would say is talk to others who have done it. Ask them, and like I told you when we talked, I said I was asking everybody. But then you have to do it your way. And what I mean is you have to be you, because the soldier's going to call you out if you ain't you. If you ain't a PT stud and you out there talking that PT crap, you need to be honest with yourself, because you're dealing with 18, 19-year-old stallions out there, right? If you're not, if that's your thing, cool. If you're not a smart person, because we can make it. I mean, and when I say smart, is that you ain't reading books every night, and you got, you barely got a good GT. Hey, it's okay. You're not there for that, but you got to be honest with yourself, because they're gonna find out your weaknesses. Period. And be fair with people and understand that you are that beacon in that organization. So if you up there acting corrupt and you up there skipping standards and all that stuff, they're gonna know about it. They gonna know about it before you even finish doing what you're doing. I'll tell anybody is be fair, get your mentors, get the questions, and then have your goals aligned. Because yeah, you're the first sergeant, but you work for that commander, and he got a boss, and that boss got a boss. So in our company, I'll tell my commander, who was my boss, when I tell him, hey, the boss was the battalion commander. When I said the big boss was the brigade commander. And he understood, hey, the boss guidance, you have to be nested into it. You can't just be sitting there going around yelling. You have to be with your XO left, right hand, and getting into the learning how to read an op order, understanding what. And the next thing I would say, and I think most first timers agree with you, get your best operational NCO and put them in your op sergeant, because that's your right hand person. It may be a great loss to that platoon or that section, but it's a gain for the entire organization. Because if you don't, I will tell anybody, you shooting that whole company in the foot. You get you that proficient non-commissioned officer that's your right hand person, your op sergeant, is gonna make your life 10,000 times better, because that person is key to the organization. If you don't do that, and this is lesson learned, if you don't do that, you as a first sergeant are gonna end up being a secretary. You got all that other stuff going on, And you got to be, like I said, with those soldiers doing all those things, be transparent. But you behind that desk doing med pros and doing all that other stuff, you're cheating the company. Let that NCO, that ops sergeant, run that admin stuff. You are just the one overseeing and guiding everybody and say, okay, because those things are gonna come up. Like they come up. But if you as a first on the interim per stat, or you in the first up there, in Met Pros yourself, and get the list. Look at it. Okay, what's going on? HR matrix. You need to know who delinquent. I don't even know what they went what. Okay, and that's when That's when first on comes the list and say, hey, Andrews, Jones, boom, boom. Hey, fall out. Yeah, you going to S1 right now because you're delinquent. But then if you're doing it yourself, you're juggling too much. And that's when you start going in, and then that's when you increase your stress. You got other things to worry about. You got to worry about kids, your soldiers' kids. You got to worry about all these things. Those things, those first line supervisors need to worry about, but those are the things that you have to answer for. So that's when you have to put those things in. If you have a good operations sergeant, they help you with that. And then you give them the guidance. They'll say, well, figure it out. Hey, these are who I want to be reported. Because you don't need to know everything. If it's 90 days out, 60 days, who? 30 days? Okay, they need to have a conversation. And if they delinquent, something happening. So that's how I see as a first sergeant. Like, I probably went long-winded, but yeah.